Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for being part of the family.
Thank you.
Couldn't do it without you guys. So we did this 46-minute video. This was a Patreon-only exclusive. It was a deep dive into a lot of touchy subjects. Yes. Again, we do invite everybody that's so inclined to join us over on the Patreon family. And again, for as little as $1 a month or even $10.80 a year when you pay for it in advance, you do get all the exclusive videos, which typically go up twice a week, sometimes more, and exclusives. So please do check it out if you're so inclined.
Right, and sometimes we do those drops and we're there with you guys and we're in there in the chat and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's very intimate, and so lots of great questions, comments, thoughts, ideas. I wanted to just go over a few things to touch on that may be going through some of your minds when we talk about what is our reality in the first place, and things like, there's been some really interesting and thought-provoking comments like, is reincarnation a form of time travel? Again, that was a question brought up by Renee, one of our family members, and a great question. And I guess in one sense you could say yes. And then that gets me thinking, well, again, a lot of people might not have a clear idea on reincarnation or transmigration, and what's the difference in that? And how about different things like soul groups and the whole concept that we tend to come in and experience things with a lot of the same people? And that got me thinking today about, the fact that from the ability to utilize Cindy to check and see my family members, almost everybody is still hanging around, in that they're still not either ascended up to fifth density. They're hanging in the astral, and I think it's for me, for maybe me and some others. When I say that, I'm talking about both grandfathers who passed on many, many years ago. They passed on before I was born. So, they both passed on about 65 years ago. And they're both still on 4D. They're still in the astral and doing their thing. And, my grandmother's two, my brother is actually one of my major guides. And sometimes it might be him speaking instead of me, so to speak, because we become so intertwined. But there are what's called soul groups. There are soul groups that do reincarnate typically together and also change positions, so that your grandmother might become your grandson in the next life, to have a different perspective. And in fact, your spouse may end up being your best friend, and it goes on and on. All the different possibilities are there. This is because we are, again, spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. And at some point in time, we'll probably be done with having experiences on Earth and we'll do something else. And again, we've gotten estimates, I would say somewhere, maybe up to a third, a quarter to a third of people have had lives on other planets besides Earth. And again, this is what we call starseed light workers. So, many people that click with certain things and don't have a problem understanding certain concepts, it's because you've already tapped into so many experiences in other places that, even though you don't have necessarily conscious memory of all the details, there's this knowing. And then at the same time, we do have the majority of people on planet Earth that have only incarnated on planet Earth. So this makes it difficult for them to conceive, even though, again, we all kind of get this memory wipe for the most part. Through meditation, through working deeply on introspection, especially meditation, we can tap into some of our past life abilities as well as memories. And we could also tap into the abilities of those that are in our soul group, as well as our DNA lineage.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of people really enjoy doing that. They really enjoy understanding where they're from, what karmic lessons did they bring from last life to this life, and a lot of talents too. It's like, you know, gosh, I'm really good at this. Why am I so good at this? And I find so often that they have brought that from a past life to utilize and to grow with this life, and that's one of the aspects of astrology that I really, really enjoy, is going into that past life chart and drawing those lines for people. And then while I'm doing that, I pick up the most relevant past life for them. The one past life that's going to give them the most information and the most knowledge for this life. Even though all of the past lives probably come into play, there's one past life that really sticks out above and beyond the rest. And it's really interesting to see the intermingling of people who do go from one life together. They kind of move in soul groups because they know each other. And even those that are listening on the video now, it's like, we know each other. You guys wouldn't be listening to us because we're really different unless you were really different. So you get it. You already get it. So a lot of times you can feel who is in your soul stream and who are you learning lessons from. And it's something it's a treat. It's a real treat if you can fit yourself into that mechanism and find those lessons of truth in this lifetime.
Absolutely. You may think that the Earth is a really big world and there's so much to explore. The reality is there's so many different versions of Earth to explore. We are in a multiverse, and this really puts a little wrench in the clarity between so many different possibilities and what is being manifested. It really is, it's mind-blowing for most people to start conceiving that every little decision that you make is almost creating another world potential. But we'll get more into that in a moment. The other thing I wanted to bring up, this aspect, as we touched on it before when we were talking about 45 and Caesars and again, reincarnation, and the whole idea that the controllers that are here at this point in time in the world, they've played historical significance in other time periods as well. Isn't it curious, the similarity? Now, is there only so many different possibilities for human faces that they're going to look alike depending on the genetics, so to speak? Again, humans, and when we look at the different races of humans, they'll just simply say it's just a matter of where they developed in what part of the world, and give you different reasons for the skin color or the heights. Because yes, we still have pygmies on this planet. We still have people that are 3.5, 4 feet tall, and at the same time we have people that are 7 or 8 feet tall, and we have certain tribes that may be 2 feet taller on average than other tribes. It's kind of crazy, but it points out to the fact that we are many different beings, yes, all of a humanoid variety, when we talk about the biological vehicle that we are inhabiting from many different star systems and planets. And yet there is this drama that's been going on planet Earth. And as we've talked about, planet Earth has been reborn from what was Tiamat, which was a much larger planet. Now, there's a reseeding that has taken place, and as we've shared, it's our feeling that since that Younger Dryas extinction event, there's been a takeover by a certain dark, malevolent group from the perspective of control and also inhibiting the freedom of others through not sharing the knowledge of how the universe really works and giving us these different constructs that are all fear-based and slave-based and control-based, which are not actually how the universe works. There are many beings out there that truly are cheering for us. They feel bad for us in some sense, because most species out there have a general understanding. There's certain things that are just understood. And reincarnation, transmigration, which are not exactly the same thing. Reincarnation's coming back again and again and again as the same thing, so to speak, like a human being. Now, transmigration is when the soul can go and experience other realities. And if you are a human soul, it's the chances are you have experienced life as what you might term simpler, but we should probably just simply always look at it as a life from a different perspective. Because it's not that it's simpler, and it's not that you're progressing up a ladder. It's really about collecting experiences so that you can become a powerful, intelligent manifester, and also have wisdom to guide that manifestation, because we are all co-creators in training. This is training. This is how we train. So when we look at a lot of these beings that pop up throughout history, and you could see there's similarities. Now, is it that there's only so much genetic stock? I mean, are these different celebrities, which everybody's pretty familiar with these people that are always in the news? Is it just that maybe this is coming from the same genetic stock, or again, how about some of the same soul stock, or are these again examples of reincarnation? We don't always necessarily take on the same gender, for instance. Yes, some of these could be doctored a hair, but I've seen a bunch of these for years now. And you could see the similarities. Now, we do work in teams, groups, and we talked about soul groups, and we tend to have the same sort of objectives. So if you're listening to this, more than likely, you are a paradigm buster. You're here to blow the doors away from the dark matrix and its paradigm that it has given us. At the same time, there are many souls that are incarnating and have been incarnating, and their whole job and what they're trying to do is to try to keep the paradigm going. And so, we're kind of on different teams here in some ways, competing against each other. But yet, at the same time, we're also learning for our own individual soul growth. That is the most important thing. That's the big takeaway. It's a learning experience, because source is within us. Source, the one source that binds all things, is inside of us. And we are becoming creators. And eventually we will be creators of worlds and of universes even. Because when we talk about beings like Vishnu, for instance, he had to go through countless incarnations to get to the point where he was ready to create a universe. And then again, you cannot count the number of universes. Every single universe is but a single cell in something bigger.
It really can get overwhelming when you're stepping back and looking at everything that makes up our creation, and when you're looking at everything that brings us to the point where we are here and now today, understanding that there are different separate realities that also break off. But when you are out of body, you're able to step back and see all of those timelines. You're able to step back and see where you come from, and you're able to see what lesson did you come here to learn in this lifetime. It's more of a feel type thing than it is a see type thing. You get the clear message though, because the information when you step out of body and you're looking at source, or you're looking at all of these other timelines, the information just comes straight to you, because light is information and it's instant. So it's like you get hit with this big, huge package of information, wham, and now you have it. But then you have to sit down and figure it out, because the information is not necessarily in a language that you understand. So in this life, in this body, you've been raised to have certain words that describe things, and certain emotions describe certain words. But what happens when you are starting to expand and you're getting more emotions than there are words to translate them? That's where it can get sticky. That's where it can get difficult. But that's the thing that makes us expand. That's the thing that makes us sit back and say, hey, there's more to this. I'm not quite understanding what it is, but I really need to sit down and unpack this information. And over the past few years, so many of us have been getting that information where we have to sit down and unpack it. And that's what we call expansion. At the same time, you're still just a one teeny tiny point of source energy, but you are no different than source energy. You have all the emotions, you have all of the information, you have everything that source has, because source gave a little piece of itself to you because it wants you to have your own personal experience. So, there's a lot to understand in this life, and how much of it are we allowed to understand depends on what we came here to learn. So we're not allowed to know everything, otherwise we wouldn't be put in these bodies that have filters on them. We're not allowed to know everything and all, and yada yada yada. We're allowed to have certain amount of information that forces us to stretch and reach for that other information. If you look at a toddler who's reaching for a toy and say it's a really cool looking toy, he's going to reach and stretch hard for that toy because he wants it. We're put in these bodies of limitation to make us reach and make us stretch and make us figure out how far we really can go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was thinking it might be good for us to do some a little bit deeper dives into, again, reiterating some of the stuff that we will talk about in videos and just touch on. Well, let's go a little bit deeper just for those that may be new and have never really covered some of these things. So, we tend to come in groups, and of course that can be spread out over a big time period. As you see, look at Zuckerberg and Philip IV, King of Spain. Very, very curious, isn't it? Yeah, we come back time and time and time again. And look at this one. That looks like it's from a movie. It looks so much Jay-Z and somebody in Harlem in 1939. The other part of this is the time travel part, from the perspective of when we're outside of the body, everything as far as time is now changing totally different. And even when we're in the body, time is never a constant. It's never a constant. And you know that. How many times have you been thinking the dentist chair? And my gosh, everything is just drawing out because you want to get the heck out of there. And then if you're doing something you love, you might be like, hey, it's time to go. Oh, wow. What time is it? I can't believe so much time has passed. Because you're so absorbed in it that you don't even notice how fast time has gone. So time is relative. It's always relative. And the reality is, if we didn't have these clocks and all the digital reminders of time, oh man, our lives would be so different. Think about that. And for those of you that are listening that maybe are outside of the system, and we do know some people that are outside of the system. They've done it. We have, a lovely young family over in southern Missouri that are outside of the system. They are homesteading. They just bought, now it's been years, about 4 or 5 years ago, they bought 20 acres, and the husband built the house himself. they've put together a farm and a homestead, and they got how many kids now? Three little ones running around, and for them, time is just marked by the sun. And for so many of us, time was always marked by the sun. And, you would just know when it was directly overhead, about half the day is gone. And, this is exactly what this world has done to us, is it's tried to get us to all conform to what it wants as far as time management and controlling our time. Oh my gosh, one of the biggest freedoms for us to reclaim is our own time. As how many people work most of their waking lives in order just to get to those brief periods where you're free for you.
Mm-hmm. When you think about time, that's your life. That's everything. Time is everything. And the system that we live in, we're forced to take our very lives, the core of us, and utilize it for some other controllers, for them. But I think it's a good exercise to sit down and think, if you didn't have to earn a living, if you didn't have to make money, what would you want to spend your time doing? And I find so many people are disassociated from that question. They are separated from that answer. It's like they sit down and they think about it and they really don't know. They just don't know. Like, what? I don't know. What would I do? Well, I think it's really important to find that out because it's fulfilling. Even if you do still have to go get a job, even if you do have to do this, we're all going to have to do stuff we don't like. Life is not perfect. Life is full of emotions. Life is full of challenges. So it's not just, a big sing-song story from birth to death. It's a challenge, and that's important. But in that challenge, what do you enjoy doing? What brings your heart to the most expansive point?
Yes, I hope in this kind of impromptu, random conversation about time and reincarnation and transmigration and soul groups and ascension, there's some nuggets that come and provoke maybe more questions and deep dives in your own mind and in your own experience, and maybe bring some understanding as we look at another example that is kind of comical. But yeah, there's a resemblance there. When you think about it, and so many people couldn't conceive of a reality in this world outside of the system. And there's probably a whole bunch of us that if we took away all the technology and gave you all the time in the world, you might not know what to do. And that's probably the subject for another video. But again, reclaim yourself and recognize that this is your human experience. We are not always human. And that's a misconception. And in reality, again, there's all these different possibilities out there. There's all these different series of events. And I thought this was really curious. You take a random meeting and, maybe you did get married to, this one person, and then you did have kids and stuff. But maybe you come back and you do it all over again. And I brought this up in the past too. And you do it from a different experience and have a whole new series of events that transpires. Because again, think about it. Every single major and even minor decision we make is affecting the world that we're in. Do you go, run and answer the door, or do you wait and answer the phone first? If they're both going at the same time. Again, we don't always know, and this is the way it's supposed to be in this world, what each decision is going to bring, but it absolutely does bring a whole new series of other possibilities into play. And so continuing on with that one thought I had, and in my own meditations, it's hit me that I wonder, is this a redo? Is this a Groundhog's Day for myself? And maybe for you. Are you coming back right now to do something a little different because you've already done it a different way? And all the series of events cascaded down a way that now you want to try to do it a little bit better. How do you know that this is not a redo that you are doing, trying to get something better at this point in time?
Right now, at this point in time, when you're sitting in your own skin, this is the most important thing you could be doing, irregardless of all the different timelines and all the different lives and everything else. Here and now is the focus, should be your focus. And any information that you get outside of that too is important for your journey. But in what order does it go in? Like, where do you place its priority? What do you do with that information? If it's useful to you, then use it. If it's not useful, then, let it go for another time. Maybe you've been given a piece of information for 10 years down the road. You just never know. You really just never know. But staying focused in where you're at, I think is, a good idea to do that. Also, I think some people get a little bit afraid. They think if they're not in this body, they're going to lose like everything that they have. But really, it's just a continuation of life and all of your experiences, everything that's gone on, everything that's helped you grow. You get to keep that, and you get to keep it from one life to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's not going anywhere. So I think maybe that's something that scares some people. They think, oh, it's just all cut off. It's not. It just continues on.
And I want to draw your attention back to this. Now, if we look at this the other way, and we say over here, what do we have? We have different souls in the soul groups, and at the same time, looking at it from a different perspective, they're perhaps waiting for the opportune time to come in and to do something to bring about a certain effect and to create a certain series of learning experiences. Both of my grandfathers, again, they both died in 1959. So, they've been gone a long time, and they haven't reincarnated. And my dad's been gone a long time now, too, 26 years, and he hasn't. And when I was able to communicate with him through Cindy, he wouldn't come back in at this point in time. What he said is, no, you like the wild roller coaster rides. That's not me. So, his soul is, even though we work together in this soul group, is different than mine in some sense of nature. And, I'm not a huge one for roller coasters, and he was in life. He'd go on anything and everything. I'm the one that wouldn't go on the upside down ones and all that. But as far as the time period, and, my mother, I know she left right when, January 2020, what happened at that point. Yeah, because she couldn't stand to look at the world and how the world was coming. So, it depends on our purpose, and those purposes can change. And again, when we come in, some of it is determined, it's all determined on the other side. This is all planned out on the other side. You may have heard of things like soul contracts. Well, yeah, we do work with others, and we agree that we will take on certain roles and do certain things when we come into the body. And then society and the control system tends to grab us and try to pull us, into a whole new set of actions, responses, and reactions to the actions that we take, which again may pull us off of our original intention and then create the need to do it all over again, yet again.
Mm-hmm. I feel it's important to control the reaction, whatever is going on, because that's given to you for some purpose. It's yes, I agree that it is a manipulation of certain controllers to steer us in a certain direction, but this is also given to you as a challenge. Are you able to react in such a way where you're going to be able to find your center, to reground, to recenter, and focus on yourself? I think that's the hard thing to do, is keep moving that focus back to yourself. And a lot of things happen in this life that might, kind of get us off the path, but it's about pulling yourself back in.
One of the things that came across that the guides wanted to get across, and you were being very sure that you were getting across to me because we were supposed to share this, was that what we create here doesn't just end when we die. So, okay, let me give you for instance, my mom and dad died 22 years apart. They were, tremendous married couple. Never really fought, loved each other intensely. I really had kind of an idyllic set of parents in the sense that, boy, did they get along. There was never any conflict in my house. There was never really any arguments. I can't remember a single heated argument in my entire life between the two of them. And yet, they're very, very different. Oh, very, very different. My mom extremely outgoing, my dad extremely quiet. And yet, in some ways, their experiences as a couple can go on, but it's just a matter of choice. But we do see, Cindy and I do see, that often souls do kind of do their own thing on the other side as well. There is a different understanding of things. When you get out of the body, you view things much, much differently. But if it is the desire of two souls that become separated because one goes ahead of the other, to be together on the other side and to have experiences together, they absolutely can.
Mm-hmm. You have whatever you need to grow. You have whatever you need to heal. And that's a huge, huge key word. It's whatever you need. And we did have a discussion with Dawn a little while ago about her NDE experience and what she saw when she was out of body. And it's the exact thing that she needed so desperately. She needed comfort, and she was given that comfort. And that was just a really beautiful interview that we had with Dawn and another person who had an NDE. She was given what she needed. So, what you need may be different when you're out of this body, because the blinders are taken off. Now you can see all the way around you, above you, below you. Now you can see everywhere, and you're getting information from everything, and you're able to decipher it and say, okay, what is it I need? And if it's that relationship you need, you will have it. That's a piece of comfort that I want to bring people. You will have it.
Absolutely. The individual soul can, in our understanding from what we've gotten directly from the guides, as well as tapping into this information through meditation, the individual soul can ascend at any time it wants to. It's not like the soul has to wait for a particular time. There are times that are more advantageous than others, and there are times when particular collectives will ascend.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's just, I think it's that collective understanding. It's like, hey guys, what do you want to do next? How do you want to do this? And it is worked out in a sense. And we all have a part to play when we come in here. We all have a part to play in the bigger unity of everything. There's this beautiful tapestry that's being made of light, and that light needs to go to certain areas. So, you may step up and say, okay, I'll be the light that goes to this part of the tapestry. And that is your job. And when that job is done for you, then someone else behind you says, okay, now I'm going to come and fill in the light in this part of the tapestry. But we all have a job in filling out part of that beautiful picture we call life.
Absolutely. So, again, every single individual cell in your body is an individual unit of consciousness having its own unique experience. You are the cell in the Earth's body, so to speak, having your own experience. And sometime, you may not decide to come back and be part of the Earth anymore. You might be part of a different planet. And, Cindy and I, we came here in the first golden period after the recreation of Earth from Tiamat, from the Sirius star system. So we know that that's where we were incarnating previous to coming to Earth. And so we have that knowledge that we have lived on other planets. And many of you have seen other planets in dreams and visions, and you may have seen past lives. It's all connected. And when I see this little painting showing individual planets, or you could look at them as individual potential worlds out there, and the fact that they are all interconnected. When you look at the brain and you look at a neural network and you see the similarities, I've seen the interconnection between every single star out there with my eyes, and it made me laugh like a little kid, because there is no disconnect. We are all connected. This is the perspective that changes as we ascend.
Well, you can ask, what bit of information do you want to pull in when you're not in the body? It's the body that gives us that friendly filter that we really need. Otherwise, it's just simply overwhelming.
Yeah. So again, this is a temporary learning experience. So when the times get a little crazy, remember that. And so we're not really humans searching for a spiritual awakening, as this says. The reality is we're spiritual beings, and we're dealing with a human experience in order to learn from it, to grow, and to become something bigger, and to help others become something bigger. This is really what this is all about. Is in so many ways, this is school. This is school. And again, the past and the future, they do collide. And the reality is, we can, in fact, time travel. Absolutely, in that sense. When we jump back in, I get the feeling of a moving train or something. Where you basically wait, time it, and now I'm going to jump in right now, and you come in through that snapshot of the alignment of all the stars and the planets, and that forms the basis for your reality. There's a reason why astrology really, really does work. And again, the Vedic astrology is taking into account the actual tilt of the Earth, which just does shift the perspective. So it's very, very accurate. And in fact, again, you can uncover even some really fascinating clues as to who you were in past lives and how successful was that past life. And this is really just all about growth. This is a learning experience. There is nothing but love on the other side. Really, there's no judgment. The judgment comes from ourselves. And do we need to go and try to relearn something because we maybe miss that mark a little bit when we were in the experience? And we could do it all over again because we have all the time in the world in reality.
We do, and it really is all about love. And if there is a lesson that you didn't get to learn to its fullest, we have that opportunity to come back and do it again. And that makes me want to tell people, live life to its fullest. That's what you came here to do. You came here to be that broad spectrum of information and bring in a lot of information. And just do things to its fullest, even if you fall on your face. Oh my gosh, that's like the best thing ever, because you've learned so much wisdom, so much knowledge comes from when we perceive ourselves to fail. We really don't fail. We are gathering so much information, not just for ourselves, but we can pass that on to other people too. And if it's in their alignment to hear it and accept the information, we can say, hey, don't do that. It's not a good idea. I went down that path. It's not a fun one. And maybe they'll say, oh, okay, well, that's a good idea. I'll go over here. Great. And here we are helping each other.
So, take heart. Nobody is ever really lost from us forever. And in fact, when people do pass on, typically they do hang around and they try to connect. But even if you can't see them or you can't feel them, many people can. That still doesn't mean you're split forever. So if somebody passes on ahead of the other one, again, once we're out of the body, there is none of this illusion of time that we have when we're in the body. This is a necessary construct so we can operate this video. It is like a video when you think about it, and then you're going to replay it. You know, have you ever wondered about how people say, you know, time slows down, and sometimes you have a life review. My whole life flashed before my eyes before the car hit us, you know, that type of thing. I mean, I had that experience once when I was in a bad accident, and everything just slowed to a crawl. It's again, because of the relativity of time. But, you know, take heart again, because nobody is ever lost. And this is something that you will review when you get out of the body. And if it might be that you need 50 or 100 years, maybe you won't incarnate again for, you know, 1,000 years or more of time on this side. It's all up to you. It's all your choice. Yes, there is karma when you're in. Karma is kind of the currency of this manifest universe, so to speak, in so many ways. But when you're outside of the body and you're not in this reality, then, you know, you're looking at everything from a much, much higher perspective.
And you can leverage that karma. You know, if it's bad karma, there's stuff you can do with it. And still, at a certain degree, you've also chosen that for growth. So, I mean, but everything can be utilized for the path that you're on here and now.
We look forward to your comments. Thanks for being part of the family. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.